Welcome Exiles! Whether you are a seasoned player or just stepping into the vast world of Path of Exile 2, this video is here to help you dominate with essential tips and tricks, from surviving intense mobs encounters to crafting the best perfect gears for your journey and taking down bosses. I have got you covered, but before we get started, here is a quick breakdown of what we will be covering so you know exactly what to expect. We will kick things off with gameplay tips to help you survive intense mob encounters and explore the game efficiently. Then we will be touching on boss tips. Next we will be covering crafting and gears, focusing on how to get the most out of your resources and build your perfect setup. After that we will dive into the trading system, showing you how to buy and sell items. And finally we will wrap things up with build optimizations, where I will share advices on skills, passives, and how to maximize your damage and survivability. Let's kick things off with gameplay tips. Firstly, stay mobile. One of the most important rules is to stay mobile during combat. Never let mobs surround you, especially in tight spaces. Always leave yourself escape route. Movement isn't just about dodging attacks, it's about staying in control of the fight. Use a hit and move strategy, or if possible, keep attacking while moving to stay harder to hit while maintaining constant damage output. Alright, our next step is avoid damage zones. Pay close attention to what is happening on the ground. Many mobs leave dangerous effects behind, like chaos, fire, or poison damage zones, which can quickly drain your health if you are not careful. Some enemies even explode after they die, so always stay alert and look for safe spots after taking down enemies to avoid unnecessary damage. Staying aware of your surroundings can make a huge difference in your survivability. And our next step is be aware of ambushes. Ambushes are very common in Path of Exile 2. Enemies often wait for you to enter their territory before rushing at you, and they typically attack in waves. This is especially frequent near objectives like chests or quest items, so it's important to be prepared. Always approach new areas slowly, stay alert, and make sure your buffs are active before stepping into the next zone. A cautious approach can save you from being overwhelmed. Alright, our next step is know your weaknesses. Every build has its own weaknesses, and understanding yours is essential. For example, if you have low lighting resistance, then enemies dealing lighting damage will be your serious threat, so you will need to avoid such attacks and prioritize eliminating those type of enemies first until you can upgrade your gears to address these weaknesses. Adapt your strategy to stay safe. Playing to your strengths while managing your weaknesses is the key to survival and progression. And now we have reached the last step in this section, which is activating checkpoints. So before entering large areas or tackling boss fights, first thing to do is locate and touch the nearby checkpoint. This will save you from having to redo an entire section if you die, especially since mobs respawn after this. So if you are about to enter a boss fight, especially side bosses, and you haven't activated a checkpoint yet, take a moment and explore the area, find one first. This way, if you die, you will respawn nearby instead of backtracking through a long mob-filled path. Even if you suddenly find yourself inside a boss fight without a checkpoint, don't panic, take a moment to scout the area and find one before fully committing to the fight. This small step can save you a lot of frustration and make your journey much smoother. Alright, now that we have covered gameplay basics, let's move to boss strategies. Boss fights in Path of Exile 2 are designed to challenge your skills and test your patience. Boss battles are rarely meant to be beaten on your first try. Each boss has a unique attack patterns and mechanics, so take your time to observe and learn. Stay calm, dodge effectively, and adjust your strategy after each attempt. If you are really struggling and no way, then check your gears, it might be the time for an upgrade. But if you find yourself completely stuck and unable to finish a boss fight, there is a way to get a high level player to carry you through it. Just join a party with a big one and that's it, he will do the rest. But while this looks an easy solution, I don't recommend it unless you have tried everything else. Letting someone else handle the challenge takes away the satisfaction of overcoming it yourself and learning the mechanics. Instead, stick with it and focus on improving your strategy, gears, and understanding of the fight. You will enjoy the victory so much more when it's your own. And if you need a little extra guidance, I have dedicated videos on my channel with in-depth strategies for each specific boss. Be sure to check them out, they might just give you the edge that you need to succeed. Okay, now let's talk about crafting and gearing up. These steps will help you to make the most out of your resources and build a powerful character. So let's start firstly by asking a question: crafting or trading? In my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, crafting gear from scratch can often be expensive and unreliable because it's a matter of luck to get the modifiers you need. Instead, I would say it's better to use the trading website to find the base item with the stats you need. This gives you the solid foundation to modify further while saving your valuable resources. And before diving into crafting or trading, I recommend investing in stash tabs, particularly a currency stash tab and at least one premium tab. The currency stash tab will help you to organize crafting materials, and the premium tab will allow you to list items publicly for trading. I will also explain that in more details in the trading section. Alright, now let's step by step talk about crafting and materials. If you decide to craft item from scratch, the first thing to do is to select a good base item. Look for an item with a good attribute close to its maximum, as this will ensure you are working with a strong foundation from the start. Here, for example, as you can see, this ring, it have a 7, which the maximum is 10 and it starts from 7, so this is not a good one. But on the other side, this one is 30 and the maximum is 30, that's considered a good. And this one is 28 from 30, which is fine. Then once you have chosen your base, begin crafting with cheap materials and don't be afraid to stop early if the item doesn't turn out well. Here is the process. So let's take this belt as an example. Here, as you can see, this belt have 132 out of 140 armor, which is fine. So let's imagine we're gonna continue with that. First thing to do, we're gonna use the Orb of Transmutation. This one will add a basic modifier to your item, turning it into a magic item with one more modifier. If the results is good, we're gonna continue. If no, we're gonna withdraw. After that, we're gonna use the Orb of Augmentation. Use this one to add an additional modifier to your item, giving you a better idea of what its potential, and don't miss this step as it will cost you additional exalted orb later, which is very expensive one. After that, if you are satisfied with the results, which I'm not in this case, then it's time to make this item rare using the Regal Orb. Once you are satisfied with the initial modifiers, use the Regal Orb to upgrade this item to rare, adding a new random modifier to it. And finally, use the Exalted Orb to add the rest of the modifiers, but only invest the Exalted Orb if the item shows great promise and is worth the cost. These orbs are rare and expensive, so always use them wisely. Another option is to use Orb of Alchemy, which upgrades an item directly into rare item with 4 modifiers. However, this method is costly and you lose the opportunity to withdraw during early crafting stages. Use this only when you are confident in the base item and want a quick random results, and for sure rich enough. And now let's talk about Val Orbs. They are powerful but risky crafting items that corrupt your gears, meaning it can no longer be modified. They actually change the item modifiers unpredictably, however they are a gamble. So they can also lower stats, reroll modifiers unfavorably, or win the item. Use them on items that you are willing to risk for potential big rewards. Now another important topic is collecting socketed and quality items. Don't overlook white items with sockets or quality. Salvaging them at a crafting bench will give you artificial shards, and combine 10 shards forms an artificial orb. These orbs are critical for adding sockets to your gear, which directly impact your skills and can help you push the resistance type you need by adding gems in these sockets, or form an armor scrap, which can help you to push the quality of your gears and get better modifiers. Alright, now let's talk about rare gears. When you find high quality rare items, the first step is to carefully evaluate their modifiers. If the modifiers are valuable and come with high tier stats, place the item in your premium stash tab for trading. Don't worry, I will explain the trading process in details in the next section. But if the item's modifiers aren't valuable, don't discard it. Instead, disenchant it and collect Regal shards. Once you have collected 10 shards, they combine into Regal Orb, which is incredibly useful for crafting rare items as we discussed earlier. By doing this, you ensure that you are always maximizing the value of every rare items you pick up, whether you are crafting, upgrading, or trading. Before we jump into trading, let's talk about the power of jewels. Jewels are incredibly useful and can provide significant boost to your stats. They are a key component of optimizing your build and enhancing your overall performance. You can search the trading website for jewels that enhance attributes relevant to your build, such as cast speed, elemental damage, or critical hit chance. Alternatively, you can craft rare jewels using orbs to add modifiers that perfectly complete your build. With little efforts and luck, you can create powerful jewels that match your character's needs, so don't forget them. Alright, now let's jump into a very important topic, which is trading. Trading is game changer in Path of Exile 2, and mastering it will make your journey much smoother. It's the best way to turn unused gears into valuable currency, and on the other hand, acquire the exact items you need for your build. Let's start with buying items. Use the official Path of Exile trade site. I will include the link in the description. You can filter items by stats, modifiers, item level, and more to narrow down exactly what you need. Once you find something that matches your requirements, simply whisper the seller directly through the website. This automatically sends an in-game message to the seller. If the seller is online and ready to trade, which is usually the case, they will send you a party invite. Accept the invite, gather the required currency, wrap to this player, and complete the trade. One important tip here, always double check the item details before confirming the trade to avoid scam or mistakes. And here is a quick side note, never use real money to buy items. Not only you can get your account banned, but you also risk being scammed. Stick in the game currency and the official trade website to ensure safe transactions. Now for selling items, as we talked earlier, if you found valuable gears, place it in a public stash tab, set the price and leave it there. When a buyer is interested, you will get a purple whisper message showing you that this item is needed, and it will show you the location in your stash tab. Wrap to the player or wait for them to wrap to you. Start the trade, place the item and verify that the currency matches your listed price. Once everything is checked out, confirm the trade, and it is that simple. A small tip for pricing your items is reverse the process by searching for similar item in the shop and see how much they are selling for. This helps you to price your items correctly until you get a sense of the market. Before ending the trading section, let's talk about currency exchanger. Each city in Path of Exile 2 have one where you can trade different type of in-game currencies. This is especially useful if you are running low on a specific currency or need to convert one to another. That will help you to upgrade your build. It's also a great place to check the relative values of different currencies. By comparing exchange rates, you can get an idea of which currencies are the most valuable and plan your trades accordingly. Trading is truly a game changer, and it allows you to earn a good currency to use it to buy the exact items you need to fill the gaps in your build. As they say, money buys everything. In Path of Exile 2, it can turn your character into a powerhouse. Alright, as promised, we have arrived at our final section, which is build optimization. Let's kick it off with one of the main aspects of survival in Path of Exile 2, which is resistance management. Managing resistance to fire, lightning, cold, and chaos damage is essential for staying alive, while the ultimate goal is to max all resistances at 75% for each map. This isn't always achievable, especially early on. Also, keep in mind that as you progress, the game applies increasing negative modifiers to your resistance. You can see this by traveling to older locations to check your resistance values, then comparing them to more advanced areas. It's clear how the penalties become harsher. So instead of maxing a single resistance, aim to balance them across the board. Avoid over-investing in one type, like reaching 80% lightning resistance when only 75 is effective, and leave fire resistance in the negative. This leaves you vulnerable to a specific damage type, so strive to push all resistance together as much as possible to maintain consistency. To cover gaps, use the correct gems in your sockets and take the advantage of charms that provide temporary resistance boost, especially for your weakness resistance type. Finally, your playstyle can also help manage resistance challenges. If you are weak to a particular element, prioritize taking out enemies that deal that type of damage first. Alternatively, a high damage build can help you eliminate threats quickly before they become a real issue. Striking the right balance between resistance and offense is the key to surviving and thriving in tougher areas. Alright, so before jumping into my sorcerer build, let's first start to discuss a very important tip that can significantly impact your character, which is your ascendancy choice. You will unlock this choice after completing the trial of Sechamis or Sechamis, whatever it is, in Act 2, so choosing the right ascendancy path is critical because it will shape your entire build. Take the time to understand the choices, read each ascendancy carefully and ensure it aligns with your playstyle and build goals. For example, if you are running a damage focused sorcerer, avoid the paths that rely heavily on debuffs or curses. as they want to be complement your playstyle effectively. Keep in mind that ascendancy can't be changed, so once you made your choice, it's final. Choosing the wrong path could force you to overhaul your build, or worse, recreate your character entirely, so choose wisely and plan ahead to avoid any regrets. Alright, now let's move on to the build section, starting with some general tips about damage. In Path of Exile 2, damage output is determined by a balance between build-specific attributes and modifiers. For classes like the Sorcerer, cast speed is a key factor that can make a huge difference. Faster spellcasting dramatically boosts DPS, and when paired with skill like Spark, it can result in a devastating area clearing potential. It's also important to understand that the DPS shown in the skill tooltip doesn't tell you the whole story. These numbers don't account for additional effects like critical hits, status elements, or stuns. Treat DPS as a general guide, but always test your gear changes in combat to truly understand their impact. Finally, support gems can significantly enhance your effectiveness. Gems that apply stuns or debuffs can hold enemies in place long enough for you to finish them off. Even if they don't directly boost your DPS, this synergy can be especially powerful for builds focused on burst damage or control. And before we dive deeper, I want to mention that my main character is a sorcerer, so the tips and optimizations I will be sharing here are more into a sorcerer build. While some advices may be relevant for other classes, the examples will be specifically highlighted strategies for the sorcerer. So let's break down my sorcerer build, which has proven to be highly effective in Path of Exile 2. This build focuses on maximizing the damage through cast speed and lighting based abilities while maintaining solid survivability. Let's start with the core skills and the gems that will support them. My primary damage dealing ability is Spark, and to enhance its effectiveness I use Arcane Tempo for increased cast speed. And let me tell you something, this one is a very important one, and the best thing that it needs just level 2 gem, which you can get at the early stages of the game. Then I am using Elemental Focus to boost elemental damage and Elemental Discharge for additional burst of damage. And Electrocut, this one also is very easy to get, it's level 2 as I remember, and the best thing is that it stuns enemies for 5 seconds. With a character like a sorcerer, you can melt enemies in those 5 seconds, which is crazy. Next we have the Orb of Storms, which provides consistent area of damage and it works perfectly with Spark. I support it with Lighting Exposure to reduce enemies lighting resistant, Neural Overload for bonus effect, and you can also combine it with Mana Flare or Super Critical. Another key skill in this build is the Mana Tempest. This is a powerful ability that amplifies Spark's damage when cast within the storm. To make the most out of it, I use Premeditation to boost damage inside the storm and Inspiration to reduce mana costs, allowing me to extend my casting duration. I also rely on Conductivity, a curse that weakens enemies' resistance to lightning damage, making them more vulnerable to my attacks. I pair it with Embedding Dome, which causes enemies to explode when the curse ends, and Hex Bloom, which spreads the curse to nearby targets. For mobility and finishing off low health enemies, I use Lightning Grab. This skill is supported by Life Drain for health recovery, Soul Drain for energy shield restoration, and Choke Siphon to regenerate mana during combat. Now let's talk about the passive tree. This build focuses on cast speed and lighting damage nodes to maximize DPS, so catch them whenever you can. And I also use Arcane Intensity, which converts mana into bonus damage. Depending on your needs, you can invest in energy shield and mana regeneration nodes to improve survivability and maintain your ability to cast during long fights. Lastly, let's cover ascendancy points. For this build, I have focused on lighting based damage with a key point like Strike Twice, which enhances the effectiveness of lighting spells, and a 40% energy shield boost for survivability. With this combination of skills, gems, passives, and ascendancy choices, this sorcerer build is incredibly effective at handling both mobs and bosses. It's powerful and fun to play. Give it a try and let me know how it works for you. Alright, now let's talk about skill usage and combat strategy, or exactly how to put this build into action. The first step is to set up Orb of Storms by placing it in front of you. This creates a damaging zone. Next, apply Conductivity to curse those enemies and reduce their resistance, make them more vulnerable to your lighting damage. Once the curses are in place, activate mana temps. This amplifies your lightning damage while you remain inside the storm, giving your attacks a huge boost with everything set up. Cast Spark as your main DPS skill to melt through enemies. For mobility or finishing off low health enemies, use Lightning Grab to reposition or secure kills. Be cautious, avoid rapping into dangerous areas without a clear exit, as this can put you in a tough spot. Now onto the outro. This build has been highly successful with me through my gameplay. It allowed me to defeat multiple bosses in one go, including the story's final boss on my very first attempt. The combination of cast speed, high DPS and strategic mobilities make it a powerhouse for both clearing mobs and tackling challenging single target fights. If you like to see this build in action, be sure to check out my channel where I showcase boss fights, gameplay strategies and tips to help you dominate Path of Exile 2. Hope this video is useful and helped you in your journey. Like and subscribe if you find it useful. Good luck out there, Exiles. Bye bye.